Good morning, all. This is Jack from Charting the Markets, and this is the pre-market webinar for the morning of Friday, the 9th of May. Everyone have a wonderful weekend, by the way. But before we get to the weekend, we first need to get through the day. And I'm starting to put notes on the charts here, particularly because quite a few people don't see the videos, they see the charts. So I'm putting notes where they are important, and I'm putting them on the morning and evening charts. The ones I put on last night here are worth noting again here, and these are that we do have potential level top setups here on basically all of the indices. We've got one on ES, we've got one on NQ, we've got one on RTY, and we've got one on YM. YM is the weakest one because we've been going a little higher there, but it's still potentially in play as a topic pattern. We do not necessarily need to go higher, and I would note that yesterday morning I was looking for a possible move to. I was looking for a possible move to retest the highs to set up the negative divergence on the daily RSI 5s, and we've now got beautiful, really nicely formed possible daily RSI 5 sell signals bringing across the board on SPX, on the Qs, on Dia, and on IWM. These haven't fixed yet, but these are my favorite type of reversal signals, and this is very encouraging for seeing a reversal here, which is my main scenario. I was never expecting this rally to deliver a retest the high. It was possible, and it still is possible, but I think it's much more likely we're going to see a reversal back down here, because actually, really, nothing has changed. Obviously, the tariffs, some of the tariffs were delayed, but the other tariffs are a major economic shock of themselves. At the moment, I'm just not seeing any economic case for a retest to the high, but I am very aware that SPX regularly goes back and retests highs when significant swing highs are being made. So it is possible. But even if we are going to do that, it isn't necessarily going to be from here. It may be after the next low. So we'll see how that goes. All right, no current negative divergence on any of the hourly charts on the futures. Nothing that's even close. DAX, we've got very close to a retest of the high, and I've actually added this line here to show where the retest of the high is on DAX. We are very, very close to that. I'm wondering if we'll hit it today, and we might do that regardless of whether or not we go up into the 200 MA on SPX, which is the key target I've been looking at. We may not reach it, but it is still the obvious target, and that would get this up to the retest of the high, but it wouldn't likely get ESTX up to it. And I'm not really expecting to see that on ESTX. We have got a decent shot of that happening on DAX, though. In terms of negative divergence, we've got a little, very weak negative divergence on ESTX, not necessarily at all meaningful. So we shall see. All right, let's have a look at the bigger picture charts. Now, first look at the SPX ADP. We've already come off a bit off the highs there, and that's not unusual, but I'm really expecting to see more of a reversal here. SPX ADP actually hit the highest level in, 2 years at this high here. This is generally a pretty good indicator that when you are reaching the top black line, it's a good indicator that you should be looking for a high, and when you reach the bottom line, it's a good indicator that you should be looking for a low. Here, we are looking for a high. In terms of the ES chart, we went back up and retested the high. We got a possible RSI 5 sell signal brewing. We got another one of those on SPX, and it's nice. One thing I look for, just as a quality thing, is for the second high on RSI to reach at least the 70 level, and they've done that, I think, across the board. Q has done that as well. Dia has done that as well. I'm pretty sure IWM did it as well. So let's have a quick look. And yep, it did. These are all nicely formed possible RSI 5 sell signals, and while these haven't fixed yet, this is definitely supportive of a reversal back down here. So I'm liking that all the more now. In terms of the bigger picture chart that I've been looking for on SPX, I've been looking for a hit of this 200 DMA, which I've now got in the 57.47 area. Actually, it's been there for about a week. It's just moved a few ticks every day. That is the obvious target above, and we're almost there. This is the remaining key resistance level on SPX. If we were to see a breaking conversion of that to support, which I'm not expecting to see. But if we were to see that, then that actually would be a sign that we might be breaking up instead to go off and retest the all-time high. We're not close to that. I'm not expecting to see it, but obviously, do things ever happen that I don't expect? Yes, pretty regularly actually. So it's something to bear in mind. Q's still testing the 200 EMA, and this is the obvious fail area. You could go a bit higher. All it needs to do is not break, not start closing above and confirming the close above, and we're some distance away from that. Looking at Dia, we've got the 200 EMA at 420. We are not close to it. We're over the 50 EMA. I haven't really got a strong preference for where we go there, but we could reach the 200 EMA. We're getting close to it. That might be a target if the SPX is going to test the one there. What are we looking at in terms of the short-term flags? Well, the reason I'm looking for the move up towards the 200 EMA is we never quite made it to this trend line. And if we're going to form a decent flag on SPX, and we don't absolutely have to, but if we are going to, then I'd be looking for that. But there are other options here. For instance, we set up a pretty decent trend line, probably just by getting up to about 57.45 and reversing there. But I'd like to see, and that actually would be a test of the 200 DMA. But the original line I drew, I'm still thinking that's got a decent shot of being hit, and it hasn't been hit yet. Looking at the Qs, we've already hit the trend line and retested, and we got a nice looking double top here. Do we have one of those forming on SPX here? Yeah, it's a beauty actually. Dia, we also have a pretty decent looking one, and these could definitely break down. We don't necessarily need to go higher. We did reach my trend line on the Qs. And this may well just be a slight bearish overthrow. On Dia, we reached it, and these might just be slight bearish overthrows. On IWM, that was reached. We reached the first trend line here. I don't think this looks like a bearish overthrow, so I'm leaning still towards seeing a retest of this high here at 206. Sorry, this trend line here at 206, and that again is the one I drew in, 3 or 4 weeks ago. Do we have to hit it? No. We could reverse down directly from here, and I wouldn't be astonished if we did that. But I'm still leaning towards seeing the higher targets until we see some decent evidence to the contrary. We will see. But in terms of the daily sell signals fixed up, brewing now, I mean, this is something I was looking for, and really where to fail anytime thing. Because if we are going to fail, we don't have to reach any targets above, and we could just fail directly. And we could do that, and these little double tops could take us down. All right, we will see how that goes. So let's have a look at DX. Okay, DX is the progress has been hard to notice with the naked eye, really. This has been glacially slow, but it has managed to get up to the monthly pivot and is trying to break over it. I've got a possible flag megaphone resistance trend line up here in about the 101.1 area, and I've got the IHS target, which I'd still quite like to see reached in about the 107 area. That increasingly isn't a bad match with this declining resistance. No current divergence. All right, looking at ZB. ZB, we have gone back and retested this low. This obviously could be the second low of a double bottom. We do have a possible weak 60-minute buy signal brewing here. So we could reverse back up. This could just basically be a retracement of this move up, but I'm leaning towards it heading lower. What is the bigger picture chart telling us? Let's have a quick look. All right. Yesterday morning, I was looking at a possible RSI 5 buy signal brewing, and that fixed and delivered another incremental move up. This is more of a breaking new ground move on TNX than we actually saw on ZB. Where am I leaning here? Well, bigger picture, this is a falling wedge that may well be a bull flag. Bull flags would have a targeted retest the high. If it isn't a bull flag, then I'm looking around for a topping pattern here, and well, we got one. And that is, sorry, I haven't drawn that in yet, so I'll just draw that in quickly now. And that is here. That is not a bad looking little IHS. Is it too large? Well, let's see that too. All right. Obviously, the way you do these patterns is you measure it from the neckline to as close as possible to the bottom, and then you make another arrow, which is the same size, and that's your target. Is this head and shoulders oversized? Slightly, but not much. On this one, I would generally give it a double target. The first target would be at a retest of the prior high, which is at 45.92, and the second extension target would be up here at about 46.325 area. Is this a decent looking setup? Yes. Has it already broken up? Yes. Could this mean that we're about to see us head back and retest this high here at 45.92? Yes, and I was saying yesterday morning that that is very much the obvious next target. Really, I think we're starting a move here on ZB that should take us down to a retest of the lows that we saw in April. These lows here. I think we're on the way heading back to that, and then probably lower from there. I'll be writing a post on the weekend where I'll be talking more about that and referring back to a post which has the bigger picture set up on bonds that I'm thinking may well be important this year. We will see. All right, CL. Now, I put a note on the chart here yesterday that if the IHS breaks up and makes the target in the 65.5 area, that may be a C wave in an ABC bear flag. So ABC. I've got a possible trend line here, which I've marked in, and I've got that currently at about 66.5 area. And we've got a very nice looking little IHS here. We've had a crop of them lately. This was an IHS which failed. This was a head and shoulders that made target, and now we've got another IHS that is breaking up. This could all be while we're in effect forming a bear flag, which would then set up a retest of this low here at 54.5, and then likely lower towards the 50 area or lower. We will see. But I'm quite liking this. Certainly, the last one delivered very well, and it's a nice looking pattern. So I'm thinking this may well make that target. If it's going to fail, well, it would probably fail on the monthly pivot. After a slight breakup, you've always got the option of rejection back into the low. We could see that here, and the obvious place to do that from would be, well, at the high this morning. So we will see whether it can break and convert the monthly pivot to support. If it can, then 65.2 is on the table. If it can't, and possibly an extension up to 66.5. If it can't, then we're going to head back to retest this lows, and we're just going to make the bear flag target sooner rather than later. Okay, looking at NG. NG, I've been waiting for the last couple of days for the retest of this high. We still haven't quite made it, and I'm still thinking that we're likely to. So expecting to see that soon. GC, I drew in a nice little looking little head and shoulders, which had made it down to about here yesterday. We've now made it down fully to that target. We've got support there in the weekly pivot and monthly pivot. We may find that holds. But if we are forming a flag, and this is A, B, C, then chances are it's going to break and we're going to go lower. I'd be leaning towards seeing a target in, well, ideally, it would be in about the 31.40 to 50 area. And it would basically continue this trend line. You quite often get an initial bull flag evolving into a larger bull flag. And this may be exactly that happening here. Is there a reason to think this would go down? Yeah. There is. Apart from anything else, I noted here on the silver chart yesterday that this is actually a very nice bull flag channel. Now that's bullish, yes, but the next obvious target within the flag would actually be down here in the 31.50 area. This would be obviously a lower low on this retracement, and we might well see a matching move on gold. We shall see. On palladium, nice looking little move up here, 60-minute sell signal. Has really delivered very little. We'll see how it goes. No obvious stopping pattern here. Keeping an open mind, but thinking it might retrace a bit with gold and silver if that's what they're going to do. On platinum, nothing really obvious happening here. Leaning towards seeing a retest this high at 1,000, and could see a second high of a double top there. HG. Now this is interesting because I marked on the chart yesterday. I removed the note because it's out of date. I put a note on the chart yesterday saying that if this hadn't broken down by the open on Monday, then chances are this wasn't going to be a head and shoulders. And after that, overnight, it actually completed the head and shoulders and didn't break down. Now, it could be this head and shoulders is just rejecting, or it could be that it's just rallying a bit before it goes down. We will see. If we see a breakdown, then I'll be looking for a retest of this low here in about the 4.06 area. If it breaks up, Well, that wouldn't trigger a target back up at a retest of the high because actually this head and shoulders never actually broke down. So it wouldn't be a failed head and shoulders. It'd just be one that entirely formed and then just never happened. So to fix the pattern, really, it has to have a breakdown, and we haven't seen that yet. So we're not going to get any targets if we go back over the right shoulder high, but I am thinking that if we get over there, there's decent odds we're going to come back up here and retest this high here at 4.99. Okay, looking at the currencies, not a lot to see. You can see the mirror image of the DX pattern. We are trying to break the weekly monthly pivot here. This looks more encouraging to make this target than DX is currently looking to make that target. GBP USD, I would note here that we've got a little double top here, and that is starting to break down. That is suggesting that we may see more rally on the dollar. That too is suggesting that we may well make that inverted head and shoulder target. All right, looking at KC. KC, we had a head and shoulders here. It broke down and then it failed. Generally speaking, the next obvious target is the retest of the high, which I've got in the 418, 419 area. We've got a weak 6-minute buy signal fixed, and we've been seeing very, very little happen. But I'm still leaning towards seeing that high retest. I think that's likely the next move. Sugar. Wondering about a little bear flag forming here. I'm very wary about sugar long here. I know I mention it every day, but it's worth repeating. But I would be very wary about being long sugar, certainly without a tight stop, because this has a cavernous. If you have a look at the big picture, I've gone through it. I've mentioned it in each of the last few webinars, but we've got a very, very, very big head and shoulders that could break down with a target in the 9 area. Given that we're currently just under 18, that's a long way down. So I would be wary about longs. On CC, still got a double top here. Still hasn't got back and retested this high here. And if it does, then we've still got a decision to make as to whether this is actually going to break up towards the target in the 11,250 area. On ZW, still retesting the lows, wondering about a move down into a test of the 495.5 area, I think. Still leaning towards seeing that. Hasn't really done much in the last couple of days. Corn has made the lower low that I was expecting. Could see a reversal here. We will see. We've got a 60-minute buy signal fixed. We've had 4 of these in recent days, actually, in this downtrend. But I'm quite liking this going a little higher to make that target. After that, we'll have to see. On soy, we've had also a head and shoulders forming here. That hasn't finished completing. It's being rather coy about finishing completing. But if that can then break below the neckline, and then convert the monthly pivot to resistance, I'd be looking for a target in about 1,005 area. Looking at CT, CT is still leaning towards this being a bullish consolidation, which will ultimately deliver a retest this high here in the 69.75 area. On lumber, seeing a bit of a rally here, kind of bloodless, not really much to get excited about. Still leaning towards lower. I've got a double bottom target, I think, which is in about the 555 area. On live cattle, we could be making a small double top here, but there's no particular reason to think that's what it is. Looking at lean hogs, we've got a head and shoulders here, which is broken down and is currently showing no sign of making target. Okay, just to recap on EFs and the other futures, we have potential level tops here. We've now got all the daily sell signals brewing on the RTH charts that I was looking for. We do not need to go higher. If we do go higher, then the high on SPX yesterday was 57.20. We'd need to go up another 25 to 35 points to reach the target trend line. Well, to reach the 200 EMA and the target trend line. About 25 points to reach the 27 points to reach the 200 EMA. About another 10 points on top of that to reach the trend line. We could do that, but I wouldn't be astonished to see us fail directly. We shall see. All right, brilliant. Everyone have a great weekend, and I will catch you again on Monday.